Manchester United appear to be preparing for a sweeping overhaul, with reports suggesting as many as 5 players have been placed on the transfer list simultaneously. It signals a decisive shift at the club, raising questions about who will be moved on and where they might land next. Elsewhere, Barcelona are reportedly ready to cash in on one of their key players, with an €80 million move to the Premier League on the table. At the same time, Real Madrid are keeping a close watch on one of Liverpool's most valuable assets, while another highly rated RB Leipzig youngster looks set to continue the now familiar path toward Arsenal. There's plenty unfolding, and this is just the beginning. Arsenal, in particular, may have stumbled upon a rare opportunity in the market, the chance to sign a top-level defender without paying an inflated fee. According to Florian Plettenberg, RB Leipzig are open to letting Costello Lukiba leave for closer to £60 million rather than the £70 million clause in his contract. That slight reduction could prove decisive, especially with Arsenal already emerging as strong contenders for his signature. At 23, Lukiba offers versatility, experience in a high-intensity system, and the kind of profile Mikel Arteta is actively seeking. This isn't about adding depth for the sake of it. Arsenal want genuine competition for starting spots, and Lukiba fits that vision perfectly. What makes the situation even more intriguing is Leipzig's willingness to negotiate. When a club softens its stance on a player of this quality, it naturally invites interest from across Europe. Arsenal may currently lead the race, but hesitation could prove costly. The longer they wait, the greater the risk of rival clubs stepping in, and the price rising again. It's a delicate moment that could define how proactive the Gunners truly are in the market. Meanwhile, Tottenham's decision-making continues to raise eyebrows. Roberto De Zerbi has reportedly stepped in to take charge of a project that, at one stage, looked dangerously close to collapse. Interestingly, the mood inside the Spurs dressing room is said to have lifted significantly following his arrival. After the bleakness associated with Igor Tudor's tenure, even a modest change in direction feels like a breath of fresh air to the players. De Zerbi brings with him a clear tactical identity, aggressive attacking play, wide overloads, fluid positioning, and quick transitions. However, there's an underlying irony to it all. His philosophy isn't drastically different from the style previously championed by Ange Postecoglou, a manager who had strong backing from the squad. This raises a valid question: what was the purpose of Tottenham's managerial upheaval if it ultimately leads them back to a similar footballing approach? The difference now is that they've paid a heavier price, both financially and in terms of lost time, to arrive at a familiar destination. As for Real Madrid, their transfer strategy continues to lean heavily toward attacking talent. Reports suggest Hugo Ekitike has now been added to their shortlist. The French striker's career has taken an interesting turn. Once struggling to make an impact at PSG, he has since revitalized his form following a move to Eintracht Frankfurt. Liverpool took a chance on him last summer, investing £79 million, and that decision is already bearing fruit. Ekitike's debut season at Anfield has been impressive, delivering 42 appearances and contributing to 23 goals, 17 scored and 6 assisted. For a player who was previously written off, those numbers represent a significant turnaround. It's no surprise, then, that Real Madrid view him as a valuable long-term option, potentially adding yet another dynamic piece to their already stacked attacking lineup. Real Madrid's approach to squad building has rarely been subtle, and once again, their solution to an already crowded attack appears to be adding even more firepower. While their forward line is overflowing with talent, the club's hierarchy seem unfazed, sticking to a familiar strategy: if in doubt, invest again. Hugo Ekitike, however, won't be making any immediate moves. Madrid are reportedly willing to play the long game, targeting a potential transfer in the summer of 2027. The complication lies in the numbers. Ekitike is tied to Liverpool until 2031, which means if Madrid decide to act, they'll be doing so on Liverpool's terms. In that scenario, the Premier League side would hold all the leverage and set a price that reflects it. Meanwhile, Manchester United are preparing for yet another major reset. Under the Ineos-led structure, the club is aiming to trim down the squad significantly while generating over £100 million in transfer revenue. Despite sitting third in the table and holding on to a Champions League spot, the planning behind the scenes paints a different picture, one of aggressive restructuring. 5 players have reportedly been placed on the market: Manuel Ugarte, Joshua Zirkzee, Andre Onana, Rasmus Højlund, and Marcus Rashford. Rashford's situation, in particular, highlights the club's financial mindset. After rediscovering form during his loan spell at Barcelona, the Spanish side are keen to make the move permanent. A £26 million option to buy already exists in the agreement, but United are now exploring whether they can attract higher bids elsewhere. It's a risky tactic, as overplaying their hand could easily derail a straightforward deal. In contrast, the situation surrounding Højlund is far more straightforward. His loan move to Napoli includes an obligation to buy for £38 million if the Italian side secures Champions League qualification, something that currently looks very likely. If that condition is met, United can already begin factoring that income into their summer plans. Elsewhere, Ugarte and Zirkzee have struggled to cement regular roles and are effectively waiting for potential suitors, while the club is also set to ease its wage bill as contracts like Casemiro's and Jadon Sancho's near their end. The funds generated from these departures are expected to be reinvested into a midfield rebuild and reinforcements on the left flank. The blueprint is there for a more balanced squad, but execution remains the key concern. Whether the board sticks to a clear plan or diverts resources into less essential signings could ultimately define the success of this overhaul. Over in Germany, Nico Schlotterbeck's contract situation at Borussia Dortmund has taken an unexpected turn. What initially looked like a near-complete renewal has now stalled. According to reports, negotiations hit a sudden obstacle following internal changes at the club, particularly involving the departure of a key figure who had been leading discussions. Officially, that's the explanation: a breakdown in continuity and trust. However, the timing has raised eyebrows. Interest from both Liverpool and Manchester United has surfaced almost simultaneously, leading many to question whether the stalled talks are truly about internal restructuring. From Liverpool's perspective, the interest is logical. With uncertainty surrounding Ibrahima Konate's future and Virgil van Dijk entering the later stages of his career, the need for a long-term defensive solution is clear. Schlotterbeck, with his left-footed profile and comfort in a high defensive line, fits that requirement well. The only lingering question is whether he possesses the consistency and edge required for a title-contending side. Manchester United's situation is less urgent. Their defensive depth reduces the immediate need for reinforcements, unless Harry Maguire departs when his contract expires. Should that happen, their interest could quickly intensify. For now, Schlotterbeck remains in a holding pattern. Dortmund are staying patient, and the contract offer remains unsigned, quietly fueling speculation that there's more to the story than initially suggested. At Inter Milan, Denzel Dumfries has unexpectedly become one of the most accessible players on the market. His representatives are actively offering him to several Premier League clubs, driven by a release clause set at just £21 million, a figure that stands out as a bargain in today's inflated market. Inter are fully aware of the situation and are attempting to renegotiate his contract to remove that clause, but time is not on their side. Interest is already building. Liverpool have received the proposal, though a right-back is not currently a priority for them. Other clubs, including Manchester City, Manchester United, Chelsea, Tottenham, and Newcastle, are all monitoring the opportunity closely. On paper, it looks like a rare chance to secure a proven, experienced fullback at a cut-price deal. But as is often the case in football transfers, a deal that seems too good to be true usually comes with complications lurking beneath the surface. Any excitement around Denzel Dumfries' relatively low release clause quickly fades once his wage demands come into focus. While £21 million might look like a bargain in today's market, his salary expectations are reportedly so high that they create a major obstacle for potential suitors. For many top Premier League clubs, agreeing to those terms would mean disrupting carefully balanced wage structures, something they are reluctant to do. Unsurprisingly, this is where Saudi Arabian clubs enter the picture. If European sides hesitate, teams from the Saudi Pro League are more than capable of meeting those financial demands without concern. The decision may ultimately come down to Dumfries himself, whether he prioritizes competing at the highest level or opts for the financial security of a lucrative move. Meanwhile, John Stones' time at Manchester City appears to be drawing to a quiet and somewhat understated close. Reports suggest the club has no plans to extend the 31-year-old's contract, signaling the end of a long and successful chapter. A potential return to Everton, the club where he first rose to prominence, has been floated as a realistic next step. It reflects Manchester City's pragmatic approach to squad management. Even established players are moved on once they are no longer seen as reliable long-term options. In Stone's case, the issue isn't a decline in ability but persistent fitness problems. Since the start of the 2024-25 season, he has missed a significant number of matches through injury, making him an increasingly uncertain presence. For a club operating at the highest level, that kind of inconsistency becomes difficult to justify. Despite this, his contribution to City cannot be overlooked. With nearly 300 appearances and years spent under Pep Guardiola, he played a key role in one of the club's most successful eras, combining composure, intelligence, and technical quality in a way few defenders can. A move back to Everton could offer a more balanced environment, one where expectations are more measured and his experience is valued without the relentless physical demands of competing at the very top. It would represent not a step backward, but a practical adjustment to the next phase of his career. At Barcelona, Jules Koundé is emerging as a central figure in the club's financial planning rather than just a defensive cornerstone. Widely regarded as one of the most consistent defenders in Europe, his versatility, equally effective at right back or center back, makes him an attractive target for several elite clubs. However, Barcelona's financial situation has forced a shift in perspective. Despite being under contract